Hey everyone! Welcome back to my personal theater. So 20 movies apparently wasn't enough for you last time you sat your butts down in these seats, and it clearly wasn't enough for Mattel either because they have made so many more movie tie-in versions of Uno. Throughout the course of the next several weeks, you and I will be binging tons of movies in an attempt to keep up with Mattel's greed. In the last episode, I only combined 10 Uno versions into the Uno Amalgam, so this episode I'm going to try and do more than that. Eventually, we'll reach that sweet 650-ish version milestone. Making a game this big and complex is a lot of work, who would have thought? In all seriousness, this video took way more effort than usual to make, so please subscribe if you're enjoying this series, it would really help me out a lot. Thank you. Before the Amalgam does any growing, it's clarification time. The first clarification is more of a reminder than anything, but I just wanted to restate that literally everything about the final game will be completely rebranded. From the art, to the name, to the terminology, to the rules, and everything in between. There will not, and legally cannot, be any references or direct representation of Mattel or the original Uno brand. Or any other brand for that matter. This means that I can't have an indicator on the cards or in the manual signifying which mechanics are from which Uno version, as cool as that would be. Any sort of brand will have to simply not exist. For example, doing a BTS dance routine really can't be a mechanic because it involves BTS, so I'll have to change the mechanic to not reference them. Things like that. A lot of these changes won't be visible in the current rules doc because that's just a temporary representation of everything I've covered. The final rulebook will have none of that branded junk. Speaking of legal stuff, some of you may have noticed I added a new category of versions that won't be included in the Amalgam in the rules doc. That category being Uno versions that legally can't be added. There is only one version that falls into this category so far, and that's Uno Color Add. For those that don't know, Uno Color Add features the Color Add system of color blindness support symbols. That's literally the only difference. Unbelievably, the Color Add system is not available for the public to use. If you want to use these symbols, to my understanding you need to not only pay a bunch of money, but you also need to get approved by the people who made the Color Add system. Now, pardon my language, but that seems like a really poopy thing to do. Imagine creating a super helpful accessibility system and then charging people to use it. Imagine if someone invented a new, objectively better form of Braille somehow and then used the same business practice as Color Add. People would go nuts. Anyway, long story short, I can't use the Color Add system even if I wanted to, which I don't because I kinda don't approve of that company anymore, and also I don't have the money. That being said, I still plan to add color blindness support, and I talked about this in multiple episodes prior to this. The system I use will likely be similar to the system used in Uno Flex, but I haven't made a final decision there. Because I'm doing this, it makes the addition of Uno Color Add completely meaningless in the process, and that makes me happy. I suppose now is as good a time as ever to go over some more Uno versions that won't be making it in for whatever reason. Let's start with a few versions that are in the same genre as Uno, and that is their only connection. Crazy Eights, Black Jack, Elusis, Last Card, Macau, Mao, Mau Mau, One Card, and Taki will not be making it in. They aren't official games produced by Mattel. Next, there are a few really cool fan-made versions of Uno that sadly won't make it in for the same reason. Loc-Official, Uno Infinite, and Uno Chess. These versions are still super cool though, and I highly recommend playing them if you can. Next, there are a couple more fake Uno versions to cover. Uno Bakugan Battle Brawlers and Uno Pokemon Coliseum are fakes. Don't believe their lies. Finally, there are a few more versions of Uno that have no unique mechanical differences to add to that absurdly long list from a couple episodes ago. Uno Pocket Geox, Uno Family Guy Obey Me, Uno Family Guy Domination, Uno Chicago White Sox World Series 2005, Uno Flip Burger King, Uno Pocket Cola Cow, Uno Pocket Burger King, Dos Burger King, Uno My Neighbor Totoro, and finally Uno Coca-Cola 1998. Huh, that was actually quite a few versions there. The progress of this episode will be even better than I thought. Another thing I want to talk about is the color power cards from last episode. I got lots of comments saying I should add more color powers so that each color has a color power. I got similar comments when I covered Uno Power Grab as well. There are a few other various mechanics that are similarly designed. I've said this before and I'll say it again, but I'm not going to invent mechanics just for the sake of it. I totally understand where you all are coming from though. Because these mechanics are assigned to colors, it would only make sense for every color to have one. But the thing is, these mechanics have nothing to do with the color they're representing. Like, what part of "this effect blocks draw 2 cards played against you" screams yellow? The colors are just an aesthetic choice by Mattel and don't really have an impact on the actual mechanics. And there's a very big chance the final mechanics in Chemicards will have nothing to do with colors. All this to say, I won't be adding more color powers or expanding other similarly designed mechanics unless I have to. This game will be complex enough as is. One comment I received a lot in the last video asked me why I couldn't just use dry erase markers on the plastic cards to represent the mechanics from Uno Remix. The answer is actually quite similar to why I'm not including digital timers in the game. Price is a pretty big factor. I don't want to include a dry erase marker unless I have to. It especially didn't make sense to add them for Uno Remix just because the mechanics can be replicated relatively flawlessly without their legacy aspects. And no, I can't just expect people to own and provide their own dry erase marker for the game, just like I can't expect people to have a cell phone, a calculator, a timer, a stopwatch, a metronome, etc. That's just bad game design. All this to say, I'm trying to avoid dry erase props just as much as timers and other prop-based mechanics like bugs. So that's why I added the cards the way I did. Sorry, Uno Remix enjoyers, but you really can't complain about how much representation your game got in the Amalgam. One final thing I want to clarify is that a lot of you have been leaving suggestions for how certain mechanics could be fittingly expanded upon or improved within the context of themselves and Chemicards. For example, the Triforce card from the last episode normally only forces you to reveal a 3, 6, or 9 number card, but many of you suggested that it should also include all multiples of 3. And I agree, that seems to be the intention of the original mechanic, so it only makes sense for me to change the mechanic to represent that intention. There are several mechanics with small changes like this, and if I've decided to change them, that change will usually be reflected in the rules doc. If it isn't though, there's still a chance that small changes like that will make their way into the final rulebook, because nothing in the rules doc is final. Clarification time over. Grab your Cobb's brand popcorn and lean way back in your chairs because we have quite the marathon to watch. This will be another lightning round episode. These cards are all getting wildcard slaps. Let's start with something that's fresh in people's minds. Edition 141, Uno Barbie the Movie. This one is still at my local Walmart, so if you like the sound of this mechanic, you can probably go buy it right now if you wanted. This is the wild played with too much card. When you play this card, choose a color. Next, all other players in the current turn order, starting with the player after you, must discard all cards in their hand of that color in any order without triggering effects on top of this card. Then they must draw the same amount of cards they discarded from the draw pile. Kinda just a partial hand refresh, how interesting. Edition 142 is Uno Batman Begins. The unique card of this version is one of the most powerful single card mechanics there is in my opinion, the Wild Justice card. When you play this card, starting in the current direction of play, deal 1 card from your hand to each of the remaining players until you are down to 1 card. Upon dealing your last card, you must call Uno. Literally just an instant Uno card that also hurts your opponents. A top tier card, for sure. Speaking of Batman, let's talk about Edition 143, Uno Batman v Superman. This version looks so silly to me. It's clearly not using official promotional art from the movie, which is a little jarring. Also, this version has blue, red, gray, and like a dark yellowish gold color palette. But the wild symbols still have green and normal yellow there, which is a bit strange. Who is in charge of this one? It seems like it's a little sloppy. In all seriousness, this one actually has a pretty complex cam, or card art mechanic. There are two special cards in this version, and they're both called the Hero card. One is for Batman, and the other is for Superman. They both effectively do the same thing as well. The deck is divided evenly between Batman and Superman. The Superman Hero card can nullify all effects played by any Batman card, and the Batman Hero card can nullify all effects played by any Superman card. So the Batman one nullifies the effects of two colors, and the Superman one nullifies the effects of the other two colors. Makes sense so far. Here's where the weirdness comes up. The normal wild card of this version features both Batman and Superman, so either hero would be able to nullify that card. Additionally, the wild draw 4s of this version have been split up between Batman and Superman evenly, so these can only be countered by the opposing hero. I've come up with a solution which hopefully allows this mechanic to function as intended, but no matter what, this is a complex one. Firstly, the 10 colors will be split into two groups. For the sake of example, let's say purple, blue, green, yellow, and orange are in one group, and red, pink, brown, gray, and white are in the other. The Superman Hero card, when played, can nullify the effects of any card it's played on top of, but that card must be part of color group 1. Same goes for the Batman Hero card, but only for color group 2. Since there is only one featureless wild card in the game so far, both hero cards can nullify its effect, but that's just a waste of these cards in my opinion. The option is still there for you though, should you want it. As for the wild cards that actually have symbols and modifiers on them, the hero cards will be able to nullify these as well, but only if the color in the top position of the color diamond is part of the color group they can nullify. If Batman can nullify color group 2, and red is in color group 2, and red is in the top position of the color diamond of a wild card, the Batman Hero card can nullify that wild card. Does this make sense? I hope so. I also hope I'm going to be able to fit all of that information on a card. Wish me luck with that. Edition 144 is Uno Cars 2012. I thought I had already added enough cars to this thing, but apparently there's more. This one has the wild Victory Lap card, so that means it shares a name with Uno Sonic the Hedgehog's wild card. How weird. It's much more fitting in this context. When you play this card, all players pass their cards face down in the direction of play. Then you get to look at all cards passed to you and decide whether to keep the cards or pass them again. This process continues until you decide to keep the hand you've been given, or you get your own cards back. Huh, that's another powerful one. Worst case scenario, you get to see everyone's hand. Best case, you get Uno. Edition 145 is Uno Cars 2014. I'm kinda getting flashbacks to when I covered the Hannah Montana versions for some reason. This version has the wild Accelerace card. Holy crap, is that an Acceleracers reference? No, it's not. I wish it was though. Mattel, please make the 5th and 6th Acceleracers movie. I would forfeit my soul to you if you did. Anyway, when you play this card, draw the top card from the draw pile and place it on top of this card. Next, everyone races to discard one card that matches that color on top of that card without triggering effects. If you are quick, your card stays in the discard pile, but if you're the last person to play a card, you have to put it back in your hand. If you don't have that color, you cannot join the race. Play then continues in the current direction with this color. I can't wait for this mechanic to inevitably knock over a discard pile. Edition 146, Uno Wish. Yet another cam needs to be dealt with here. Unfortunately for me, this cam is stupid lazy. The Wild Wishing Star card forces all other players to draw cards until they draw a card with the wish icon on it. The problem is that there is no rhyme or reason to where the symbols are placed, except that they aren't placed on wild or action cards. They show up on every number at least once, and all over the 4 colors. If this mechanic is going to be lame, I'll just take its effect at face value. When this card is played, all other players, starting with the next player in the turn order, must draw cards until they draw a purple, pink, orange, or blue number card. This is the thanks you get, Uno Wish. Edition 147, Uno Finding Dory. The wild Just Keep Swimming card, when played against you, forces you to draw cards until you draw a blue card. You get it? Because water is blue, and Dory is blue? Isn't Mattel so creative? I guess they can't all be winners. Edition 148 is Uno Frozen 2014. I covered Uno Frozen 2 a while back, so it's only fair I cover the original as well. When you play the wild Olaf's Summertime card, you may discard either 3 pink cards or 3 yellow cards without triggering effects in any order on top of this card. It's nice to see that the non-standard colors are getting some love from the non-standard versions of Uno. It helps everything feel like it belongs. Hey, wait a minute, Edition 149 is Uno Frozen 2016. Mattel got away with it again. They made 2 versions of Uno with the same name and made research super confusing. Urgh, angry. Anyway, when you play the wild Let It Go card, immediately discard all of your blue cards in any order on top of this card without triggering effects. Huh, it's like the opposite of the Just Keep Swimming card. Ring ring. Oh, hey, hold on a sec, I'm getting a call from the Discord server. Yellow? You don't say. You all are incredibly fast and hard-working, and genuinely helpful to this project. Oh, you already knew that? That's good. Well, I'll be sure to tell them. Alright, bye. So I just got off the phone with the Discord server if you didn't notice, and they told me that Uno Planes Fire and Rescue has the same exact wildcard effect as Uno Frozen 2016. So I guess that one was kinda a 2-in-1 special. It even stuck to the movie theme, how thought out on Mattel's part. I can easily make this a 3-in-1 special by telling you that Uno Planes 2014's mechanic has already been included as well.
Eliminated.
Edition 150 is Uno Green Lantern. Yes, the bad Ryan Reynolds movie. It's okay, he's Deadpool now, it all worked out. When you play the Wild Power Ring card, take all yellow cards in your hand and give them to other players in any order or quantity you wish. Simple as that. Green Lanterns don't like the color yellow, it all makes sense. Alright, let's talk about the Uno Harry Potter versions because apparently there's 6 of them and I only covered 1 of them in the past. So many people have requested Harry Potter, and I always chuckle to myself and ask which one in my head. So I'm going to cover them all right now. Really quickly, Uno Harry Potter 2002 and Uno Harry Potter 2003 are completely mechanically identical to Uno Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, which I've already covered. So that's just another 2 versions.
Eliminated.
The actual edition 151 is Uno Harry Potter 2005. This one includes a very mechanically interesting card, the Wild Expelliarmus card. When you play this card, whichever card has most recently been played before the Expelliarmus card gets sent back to the hand of the player who played it. The effects of the card that gets returned are not undone or nullified, however, and that's what makes this card interesting. There's so much potential with this card. I can imagine some crazy team combos or ruining someone else's day by sending something like the doubles card back into their hand. Believe it or not, this card still does more after it triggers its effect. You then get to choose any player to draw 4 cards. Dang, this card is nuts! And it fits the theme of the spell very nicely as well. Overall, a very cool mechanic. Edition 152 is Uno Harry Potter 2010 and Uno Harry Potter 2011. Because once again, they are identical. When you play the Wild Voldemort card, you get to discard all 2, 6, and 9 number cards from your hand in any order without triggering effects on top of this card. Yet another boring card art mechanic, and also nearly the opposite of the Spider Sense card I talked about last episode. Edition 153, Uno Harry Potter 2018. Full disclosure, the special card for this version and the next version are very similar. So similar, in fact, that the only difference is their aesthetics. Let me explain. This version contains the Wild Sorting Hat card. When you play this card, you choose another player and they must draw cards until they draw a 1, 2, 3, or 4 number card. You may have noticed that this card does indeed have a new number in the number slot as well. 9 3/4. So we got a new number, and man is it a silly one. That's really all there is for this version. If you look at edition 154, Uno Harry Potter 2021, you'll see the special card is identical to the previous one, except it doesn't have the new number. That's the only difference. but it's still unique, so I'm including both. They'll have the same symbol, but one will have 9 3/4 while the other will not. And that should be all for Harry Potter. I'd be genuinely surprised if there were any more Uno Harry Potter versions roaming around out there. I suppose there will be more inevitably when they remake the movies. Moving on. Edition 155, Uno High School Musical. When you play the Wild Duet card, starting with the next player in the turn order, all other players must discard a pair of specific number cards on top of this card, in any order, without triggering effects, or draw 2 if they can't. Here are the valid pairs that you can discard: 0 and 2, 1 and 6, 3 and 5, 4 and 9. At least this one is trying to be unique, you know? You gotta give them credit for trying. Edition 156 is Uno High School Musical 2. I guess High School Musical was more popular than I thought. I wouldn't know. I was too busy re-watching Acceleracers for the 57th time back in 2006. When you play the Wild Sharpay's Helping Hand card, choose any card in your hand and place it in another player's hand. Imagine handing someone the doubles card or the 99 card with this. Or even better, eliminating someone. Absolutely hilarious. Edition 157, Uno Jurassic World Dominion. I think it's absolutely hilarious how lazy this Uno version is. Most of the card art is reused from Uno Jurassic World, and even the unique mechanic of this version uses a similar idea and artwork but changes the effect. When you play the Wild Run card, you can nullify the effects of any card played against you with the dinosaur footprint symbol. Oh yeah, it's a cam. It's somehow even lazier than I thought. Let's make this easy on ourselves. The Wild Run card, when played, can nullify any reverse, skip, or draw 2 effect played against you. But these are the only effects it can nullify. It doesn't nullify every effect on the card. That's right, Mattel. If you want to be lazy, I can be lazy too. You aren't special. Also, I just want to eliminate another version while I'm here. Uno Attack Jurassic World Dominion, from what I've seen, is mechanically identical to Uno Attack Jurassic World. I mean, go figure, they even reused the same dinosaur head mold for the attack machine.
Eliminated.
Edition 158 is Uno Justice League. One thing I like about some of these mechanics I stumble across is that while they may be similar to other mechanics, they may also be more or less powerful than the mechanic they're similar to. This results in some cards having more value and allows for more synergies. The reason I bring this up is because the Wild Superman X-Ray Vision card is just a more powerful version of the Sabotage card from Uno Glee. When you play this card, choose another player and look at their hand. Then you can choose to exchange any cards in your hand for any cards in their hand. If you have enough cards, you could also effectively use this as a trade hands card. It's the little nuances like this that I enjoy about adding all of these Uno versions to the Amalgam, and what will no doubt make the final game a lot more strategic. Edition 159, Uno Lightyear. Can you believe after all of the versions I've talked about, there are still unique mechanics present in single mechanic Uno versions? Not only that, but some of these are really creative and cool, just like this one. When you play the Wild Hyperspeed card, choose a color. From that point on, when that color is played, the next player in the turn order is skipped. This effect only lasts until a new color is played. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that fun? Now if only the movie it represented was better than mid. Edition 160, Uno Minions Rise of Gru. When you play the Wild Dumb Fu card, the next player must strike a Dumb Fu pose, whatever that means, and hold that pose until the start of their next turn. If they break the pose before that happens, they draw 4. Yet another stupid movement-based effect that will be really fun for in-person games, but probably won't work in the TTS version. Hey, did you know that there are 3 Uno versions of The Nightmare Before Christmas? I didn't, until my Discord told me. By the way, I want to just really quickly give a shout out to Wario Land GP, Austin, Casper the Restless, and Orange and Orange from the Discord server. You all have done a ton of research, and it has been super helpful for not only this video, but future videos as well, no doubt. I definitely wouldn't be able to do this without my community in general, so thank you, community. Going into this, I had no idea about all of these international versions and the layered history of multi-version releases with the same name and stuff like that. And I would like to thank the community again for enlightening me. Without you, I wouldn't know that Uno Vegemite exists. And guess what? It has no new mechanics.
Eliminated.
What was I talking about? Oh yeah, The Nightmare Before Christmas. Let's start with the oldest one. Edition 161. Uno The Nightmare Before Christmas 2007. This is by far the most creative of the three. When you play the Wild Oogie Boogie card, choose a player. That player must publicly draw cards until the sum of the cards they draw is 11 or higher. So any number cards they draw add to the total, and once those numbers reach 11, they can stop drawing. Any non-number cards go directly into that player's hand and don't contribute to the sum total. Once the player reaches 11, they get to play the most recent card they drew on top of the Oogie Boogie card without triggering effects. I feel as if this card has an added layer of comedy in Kema cards. Because the player affected by this card has the chance of drawing a number card higher than 10 right away, the effect could just end immediately without doing any damage. I can't wait to hear stories about playthroughs of this game. Anyway, the next one is Uno The Nightmare Before Christmas 2010. Unfortunately, this version is mechanically identical to the 2007 version.
Eliminated.
The real edition 162 is Uno The Nightmare Before Christmas 2017. Unfortunately, modern Mattel has fallen to the trap of when in doubt, cam, and it's kind of boring at this point, honestly. Regardless, this mechanic is still unique, so it's getting added. The Wild Oogie Boogie card, same name, I know, when played against you, forces you to draw until you get a 5, 6, 7, or 8 number card, or a card with the Wild Draw 4 symbol. Alright, that's enough of this movie. Watching it 3 times is more than enough. Honestly, there really isn't a need for a cam episode of this series because they're abundant as is. Edition 163 is Uno The Peanuts Movie. When you play the Man's Best Friend card, you may discard up to 3 Charlie Brown or Snoopy cards. What this really means is that you can discard up to 3 1, 2, 3, 5, skip, reverse, draw 2, draw 4, and wild cards without triggering effects in any order on top of this card. Then, choose another player to be your best friend, and they get to discard one of those same cards on top of your stack without triggering effects as well. At least that one had that unique aspect at the end to aid in the strategy of the game. Edition 164. Uno Peanuts It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. Geez, which Uno version has the longest name? Probably still Uno Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix, but if something is longer than that, that would be hilarious. Anyway, when you play the Wild Trick or Treat card, all other players, starting with the next player, must draw 1 card. Then you choose a color. If the card any player drew matches the color you chose, they can discard it on top of the Trick or Treat card without triggering effects. If not, it goes in their hand. Pretty basic, but I'll take anything over a cam at this point. Edition 165. Uno Nickelodeon DreamWorks The Penguins of Madagascar. When you play the Wild Dr. Blowhole's Revenge card, draw 4 cards from the draw pile without looking at them, and give them to any player or players of your choice in any combination or order. I like it when cards give the player more freedom to use their effects, and I also like when cards are named something ridiculous out of context, like Dr. Blowhole's Revenge. Edition 166. Uno Ratatouille. When you play the Wild Recipes for Disaster card, choose a number. Starting with the next player, all other players must discard 1 number card matching the number you chose on top of this card without triggering effects. For the sake of maintaining the original spirit of this card, you can only choose numbers between 0 and 9. If this rule wasn't in place, you would logically just choose an exclusive number like 99 or something, meaning it would basically be an all draw 3. That's why I made this change. Edition 167. Uno Space Jam A New Legacy. When you play the Wild Welcome to the Jam card, instead of placing it on a discard pile, hold it as high as you can in the air and then drop it. If the card lands face up, You get to place the card on a discard pile and then discard 2 more cards on top of it in any order without triggering effects. If the card lands face down, you still need to place it on a discard pile, but then you need to draw 2 cards. Heck yes, I love silly cards like this, but notably this one has a 50% chance of hurting you, which is even more silly. Edition 168, Uno Spirit Untamed. When you play the generically named Wild Best Friends card, choose a number. Then, everyone starting with the next player in the turn order must discard a card featuring that number, if they have one, without triggering effects. If anyone had the number you chose, you get to discard a card once all other players have had the chance. I'm assuming this means if nobody had the number you chose, you wouldn't get to do this. This is an interestingly beneficial card for all players, and it's really similar to the Recipes for Disaster card, but it's also worded really strangely in the official manual, so let me know if you think this mechanic needs to be changed. Edition 169 is one that has been requested quite frequently. Uno Star Wars Technical Schematics. And I gotta say, dang, this version is pretty to look at. This version is deluxe, and it shows with the amount of effort that was put into the art and the box. The new card is also fairly unique. When you play the wild "That Was 1 in a Million" card, choose a color. The next player must take a card of that color from their hand, close their eyes, and attempt to toss the card so it lands on top of the discard pile containing this card. If the player misses the shot or does not have a card of the chosen color, they must draw 3. The Throne card, whether successfully landed or not, goes on top of the "That Was 1 in a Million" card. What a fun card, and it fits the theme so well. It really would be a 1 in a million shot to land this. Overall, this is probably the best Uno Star Wars version there is. Is it worth $20 though? That's for you to decide, I guess. We started this video with an Uno version that is currently on store shelves, and I'll do the same for the final edition this episode. Edition 170, Uno Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. When you play the wild From the Sewers card, the next player must draw cards until they have 1 card of each color in their hand. Wild cards don't count for any color and don't count as their own color. Ouch! That could be devastating. Yet another addition to the hand management of this game. Whew! This has been a long video. I officially added 30 versions in this episode, and I eliminated an additional 18 versions along the way. I kinda wanna say I covered 50 total versions in this episode, so I'm going to eliminate 2 more. My first Uno Nickelodeon Team Umizoomi and my first Uno Little People have nothing new about them. There we go, 50 versions that have been covered in this video. That means I've covered 396 total versions. Next episode we'll surpass the 400 mark, which is very exciting. There are now approximately 842 cards in the game as well. Much less cards were added in this episode compared to the last episode. Funny how that works. It is once again time for me to say thank you to the wonderful members of the Amalgamation Donation Club. Thank you to Joseph, I Like Pancakes, Placeholder VR, Skyroll of the Stars, Quentin, Wario Land GP, The Shilito, As the J Flies, Ava CZ, Cindy Barnes 1388, Eli Astenbach 5689, H2O Wizard 57, Fallen Angel Viox, Omicromium, and Cat Herder Cam. These generous donations will not go to waste. I can promise you that. Thank you so much. Good progress today, everyone. If you haven't already, please subscribe and join the Discord server if you want to talk about my silly projects with some awesome people. Link in the channel description. And also, check out the hundreds of videos I've made on my other game, Massacards. It's the ultimate hidden role game similar to Werewolf and Among Us. I've put more work into that game than anything else in my entire life. I'm not exaggerating. Thank you for watching. Like the video if you, in fact, liked the video. And stay tuned to watch me surpass 400 Uno versions in the next episode.